I remember also the oil price crash in 1986 when people were actually running around and say, stop that project, stop the Gyda project, stop the Ula project, etc. I still remember that because oil prices collapsed. So of course I feel that I've been living with the energy industry for my whole entire professional life. Sometimes I get this question, why is it to have had so much success? And then I'm thinking, so much success? What I really remember is a lot of the failures. So it was a lot of failures all the time. And so it was 6 failures for every success.
How do you see it's happening in the next 5 years if you use that time horizon?
Yes. Okay. Currently we are investing about $900 billion in oil and gas. And we are investing slightly more than $1 trillion in new green energies. I think oil and gas has had a comeback in terms of investments, and it will be quite high, but it will be plateauing.
This is the Oil and Gas Breaking Bias show, where we are going to invite industry leaders to talk about their journeys and also technologies of tomorrow, in an effort to break some of the biases that might have formed around this energy industry.
Hello, everyone. I hope you are happy and healthy. I'm Ananja, and you are listening to the Oil and Gas Breaking Bias show. Today, I'm happy and excited because we will be joined by Jarand Rystad, who is founder and CEO of Rystad Energy. With his background in physics and consulting at McKinsey, he has built one of the world's leading research firms from the ground up. He is known for his bold and data-driven insights that challenge conventional thinking in the energy industry. Under his leadership, Rystad Energy becomes a trusted partner for government, investors, and the energy leaders. So with that, let's deep dive into his journey and also get his views on this ever-evolving energy industry. Jarand, I'm really happy. Thanks for joining me today. Welcome to the show.
I'm very happy to be here, so thank you.
Thank you so much for taking your time. And when we talk about the energy industry, like who can talk better than you? because we are all using this Rystad Energy services, and I could see like lots of qualitative data. So there's a lot to talk about the energy industry, like where this energy industry is going towards, what are the challenges and opportunities that industry is offering. But before we deep dive into this energy discussion, I will say it will be great if you can walk us through your personal and professional journey or any of the biases that you might have came across.
Yeah. Okay, let me start. I was born in Norway in the 1960s, and I remember the energy crisis of the 1970s, playing football on the highways because it was, restrictions to drive your car. So, and I remembered extremely high energy prices in 79 and 80 and 81. And my sisters worked both in Kværner Engineering. So I also I got a summer job there when I was a student through the 1980s, and was a programmer actually there. I've learned programming. So Kværner Engineering was building a lot of these platforms for the North Sea. And still, I remember also the oil price crash in 1986 when people were actually running around and say, stop that project, stop the Gyda project, stop the Ula project, etc. I still remember that because oil prices collapsed. So of course, I feel that I've been living with the energy industry for my whole entire professional life.
And you have seen all the cycles, yeah. And going.
I've seen that, yes. But also my professional life, educated as a physicist and astrophysicist, but also my tool has been basically the computer and doing programming, statistics, etc. And I've always been very fascinated about that. And also doing computer simulations, using system dynamics to simulate different systems. And I used that in astrophysics to simulate how objects were moving in the gravitational fields, etc. For example, two stars rotating around each other. How will a planet go around those stars, etc.? That is very complex matters, but a lot of fun programming to get there. So I did that for many years. As a student, I continued to do academic work in the city of Trondheim within industrial economics. And then I started in McKinsey and Company in the mid-90s. And I was as a general consultant. And more than half of the projects I did was in the energy industry, primarily oil and gas then. And I became, in many cases, the data nerd on the team because I was very literate kind of on the statistics and the programming side. And I tried to make sense out of oil and gas data.
Yes.
It was these mega mergers with Chevron merging with Texaco and Shell and Enterprise and Exxon and Mobil, etc. And also in Norway it was some big mergers. And we tried to make sense out of the forecasting. What will the investment budgets be into the future? What will be the tax positions brought forward? Exploration budgets, all of these things. And then I started to look at, are we really making the correct estimates here? Because it looks quite conservative, was my view. 5 years and 10 years down the road, all the budgets were shrinking very much. So I said, is that really the truth? Let's look at the history of forecasts. So I started to look back at forecasts done 4 years ago, 8 years ago, 12 years ago. What was the forecasting look like and what was the actual things happening?
Yes.
And I started to try to connect. So I did a historical look-back analysis of forecasts of the future, and then we are already in the future. So in one way, you have the answer already.
Then you can look back, yeah.
And I started to see that there were some very systematic errors in the data based on human psychology, because we are not willing to stick out our neck and basically say something that is uncertain. But if you look at the uncertain part of the future, it's very big. So we actually have to estimate the uncertainty, but then in the right manner. And that was the algorithms I started to develop working there, and I like to play with all of this data. And then at some point I proposed to let's make a big database once and for all with a more backed up data, that we could use historical analogies to say that these forecasts are more likely to happen than this, including looking into the business trends. Because, of course, in an upcycle and down cycle, the future looks very different. You tend to look in the upcycle, you tend to think that everything will continue to be very high and oil prices and everything, and vice versa. In the down cycle, you are very pessimistic. So I started to do that and said, let's try to build one global model once and for all to my then current employer. But they were quite skeptical, thought that was a too big task and the risk of being outdated before it was updated, etc. So it was not very much support to get. And then that was when I actually got this idea that, okay, I will start my own company to try to do this, because I think I know how to do it. I know how to get all of this data. I knew the different governmental sources and company sources, and where could I trust the data, where could I not trust the data, etc. So my plan was to start this, use 4 months to build the database and start to sell the data. But in parallel, finance all of this with the consulting projects. And yes, it took 4, that was correct, but not months. It was 4 years. It actually took me to build the database, and that before it was commercially kind of available. But we used the database all these 4 years in our consulting projects, and we did a lot of consulting. We were building a big consulting organization. Continued with some of the clients I already knew very well from before, but also quite some new clients, and we're able then to finance and learn and get a lot of kind of calibration and data along the way. So we never asked for any external capital. We just lived on the capital we provided ourselves through our consulting. But then in 2009, we were ready to go to market also with the database and sell to our first clients as such, So, yeah. So that's at least one brief background.
That's amazing. So you have seen that problem and identified that problem and come with a new idea to build this business. And one thing, like you already mentioned about, sometimes you have so much of data, then you get overwhelmed, correct? And the forecasting is great, but in your case, you were able to reflect back. Like what was the learning? Like when you look back, how big or small was that error between forecasting and the reality?
Yeah, I think if you look 5 years into the future, if you're only including kind of the certain projects that are committed, in terms of final investment decisions, it's less than half. So 5 years into the future, investments, at least 50% of the investments are currently not decided upon and very uncertain. But it's not that uncertain. because there's some logic. If you take the global view, you know that the world have to deliver energy and have to deliver investments. So, of course, you never know whether it's project A, B, or C that will deliver these new volumes. But you can actually be very certain that you need at least, let's say, 60% of the capacity from these three uncertain projects, and then you can do some risking. And
Yes.
and if you take this top-down view as well and merge that with the bottom-up view, you get a very calibrated future. And that was the aim I took, because not only looking at the investment budget, but also the total production. And when I added all the known profiles from all the known oil and gas fields in the world, I knew that 5 years down the road, it's not anything near to deliver the energy that will be demanded. So we have to add a lot of things. And so you get that insights from taking the top-down view that we have to deliver in that time maybe 85 million barrels per day, and we have to grow that to in 2020 to 100 million barrels per day. The substitutes, of course, you need to consider that as well, and the structural changes. But even with taking some quite radical even assumptions on substitution, still you see the growth needed, and you know something about the decline rate of all wells and everything, and so we can apply all the information that is there and all the history that is there, and then you see that it's actually you're forced to invest much more and do much more than what you can find in the kind of more conservative budgets from each company.
No, that makes perfect sense. So let's go back to your journey. Like you have started, you also work as a researcher, then you work as a consultant at McKinsey, and then you have started your own business. Any biases that you might have came across in this journey about, or maybe it could be about yourself? Like were you confident enough when you took those?
Yes. I think my attitude is you just have to try. It could be a success, it could be a failure, and you just need to try again. And actually, within this universe of all the successes and failures, actually, I have some. Actually, sometimes I get this question: why is it to have had so much success? And then I'm thinking, so much success. What I really remember is a lot of the failures. I tried to go to one. I told you that we were selling consulting projects, and of course I had quite some relationships, but also I had a lot of pitching ideas. I thought I had the best ideas in the world for new mergers and acquisitions and everything. And I went to management groups, and I got no. We don't trust you. We don't. Yeah, it's good data, but you're not famous enough, so we cannot use you. Blah blah blah. So it was a lot of failures all the time. So it was 6 failures for every success. But you just have to continue to try and not really be too sad and go home and cry in a way when you get the turnout or you punch in your face. When you get the punch in your face, you just have to try again and try a new angle and not try too hard with those that are rejecting you. Rather try to find new clients or new customers or new geographies or new products. So it's about being flexible and having many pieces of bread in the pond where the fish is, and you never know exactly where it is going to bite. But you have to maintain the different activities so that it's attractive enough for that the fish want to bite, and then suddenly they start to bite here and they start to bite there. Not always where you expect it to happen. Yeah, this is one of the learnings I've had.
That's amazing, and you already highlight. Sometimes we have a self bias. We start to give it up, that easy. But as you have mentioned, you need to be flexible, and maybe one door might close, but there are many other doors that you should knock, and those doors or those opportunities can bring some success.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. So yeah, it's about that.
Yes, no, that's great. So we talked about this energy industry, like as we all know, you monitors and tracks this industry very closely. Where let me ask you, where this industry is going towards, what opportunity and challenges that we see in the short term and the long term, and how can we ready?
Yes, of course, energy industry is in the middle of a very big transition. There's no doubt about that. More than half of the investments globally is in energy forms that we didn't invest in 10 years ago very much. Of course, it's solar, wind, batteries, geothermal, a lot of new green energies, both green electrons and green molecules. And this is no doubt that is the future. However, exactly how fast and in which form and how the transition will be is still uncertain. And there's optionality. It's based on both pure economics in terms of technology development, but also pure or policy support, following the different governments globally, what kind of policy support they are giving. So in that sense, it's a very exciting industry to be in, because we are facing a very fundamental change. Just like look at the telecom industry, telecom and media. They have also been through a complete transition from the 1990s. If you go back to 1990, then you had newspapers were one thing, television was one thing, data communication, computer communication was one thing, telephony was one thing. Today, all of this is merged into the same platform, internet and the smartphone, and the business models is also changed completely. And we take that as granted in a way, and we don't talk too much about it even, but it's been complete transition, and similar things will happen in the energy industry over the next 3, 4, 5 decades, to the benefit of the global population, but also with quite some disruptions and surprises, I think that will happen. So, of course, it's an incredible, exciting space to be in. And this is the big picture. And then we have in the more myopic picture, we have some really big policy changes this year already, driven by the new administration in America, but also other changes. And also we have an energy market. Of course, I love to follow the trends of energy pricing and trading and the supply and demand balances. And also there we have quite some big changes this year, with maybe going from 2022, where we had a year of too little energy, to a year maybe in 2025 where there's never been as much energy added as in 2025 to the system, and still due to the current geopolitical environment, it's cooling down the global economy, and also with that the global energy consumption growth. So with that, we are actually maybe in a surplus of energy just as we speak, and we can see that on some of the energy prices as well.
So how do you see the continuation of the investment in this energy industry in short term and long term? So as now we have a surplus, but how do you see it's happening in the next 5 years if you use that time horizon?
Yes. Okay. Currently, we are investing about $900 billion in oil and gas, and we are investing slightly more than $1 trillion in new green energies. And I think oil and gas has had a comeback in terms of investments, and it will be quite high, but it will be plateauing over the next few years. And even to keep oil and gas, which is the baseload of all the energy today, 80% or including coal, fossil fuel is 80% still of all the energy. And it's oil and gas has a very strong decline of every well. So even to keep a flat level, you need to invest quite much. So we need to continue to invest significant in oil and gas. And gas is going to grow, and many places gas is competing with coal and in the power sector, and with a much smaller carbon footprint. And in some cases other benefits like local environment, flexibility to back up renewables, and there's many other benefits with the gas versus coal. But the problem many places is that it's more expensive than coal, but that is often before you are taking away the subsidies that many coal producers are actually implicitly getting. So I think gas will be very competitive and be growing, and also oil will be growing for quite some years until the structural changes is far enough. So we still need a lot of investments in oil and gas, and especially for all the big markets, the piped gas is declining many places. So we need more import of LNG.
Yes, like now we see LNG boom because of that. So you can transport that gas to long distances.
Exactly. So we expect a 50% growth still in the global LNG market, even if gas as such will also grow for more than a decade. But eventually, of course, that will also reach a peak, because we see with the cost trends that we also see in renewables, we see that it will be unbeatable in a way to produce new electricity in 10 years from now.
That's good to know. So the point is here, this industry is not going anywhere. It's here for many years and many decades to come. The only thing, as Jarand, you mentioned, it will transition itself. Like maybe some new application will come, some new processes will come. Oil might decline, but investments on gas might increase. So those dynamics will be there. So if you're looking to enter this in this industry, is not too late. You can still come in this industry and make it big.
If you talk about talk to young people, I would say that yes, you can still have a lifelong employment in this industry. But if you look at each of the professions, they will also be merged into a hybrid energy landscape where it's not very clear whether what you're working on is necessarily traditional black or brown or green energy. Maybe you, as a geologist and subsurface, maybe you will be working with geothermal wells, or maybe with injection wells for CCUS, for etc. Maybe 3 months will work on that, and the next 3 months you will work on an oil well again, etc. So I think it's going to converge quite much. And the same goes for all other kind of equipment, electrical equipment, rotating equipment, everything that an engineer is doing. So there's absolutely no risk, I think, to have education within the traditional disciplines that is serving the oil and gas industry, for example. They will continue to be very, very in high demand, I think, for another, and actually more than 50 years, 100 years, because even in 2100, you will need oil and gas to produce
like
plastics.
Many other things, yes.
Yes, asphalt, lubricants.
Yes.
And our estimates is that is about 25 million barrels per day.
Yes.
That you
So
will be using
you will need oil or gas.
for materials. And that is also not a climate problem in the same manner, because it is not emissions to air. It is hydrocarbons kind of trapped in materials.
Yes.
And some of them have a duration, if it's building materials, that could be 80 years or 100 years. And if you have then a good recircling of these molecules, you will not even have emissions in a part of that part of the process. In that sense, this is a industry for centuries.
Yeah, so I fully agree. I fully agree on that one. Jarand, we can talk about hours and hours with you on the energy industry. I know you have lots of passion about this one. But going back to your journey, you have achieved a lot in your journey. We already talked about it. But if you have given a chance to relive your journey or changes to make, what changes you might make?
No, I actually try to, in one way, I try to not make too many changes, because I think we have the corporate structure we have. I enjoy that. We have been able to grow to the size we have today, 50 people and significant revenue, without any external capital. So I think that recipe has been successful. I'm happy I haven't need to spend a lot of time keeping a private equity players happy or something. So in that sense, I enjoy that there's not going to be any change, on that. Yes, but of course, new generations is coming up in the company, in the management, is a gradual change that is happening. So, and also we are, for the first, let me say, 15 years of the company's history, we were focusing only on oil and gas. But then we saw that there was so much happening in all the other parts of the energy system. So we started then to explore, all the clean tech, renewables, all of that. I think that was a very good move. Of course, that has a very significant part of our business today. And also to understand the energy system, because it's going to be much more integrated energy system in the future. So you cannot understand the energy system if you're only understanding oil and gas or only understanding renewables. You have to look at it in an integrated manner. And I think we have been quite successful in doing that. And that is a change that we made to the company. So, but also, we are discussing that because some big corporations, they have a tradition to rotate people in positions. And some cases, I think they're maybe too eager to do that too fast. So people are only in 2 years in one position, and then they're going to a completely different business, within the same big corporation. And sometimes then you are not had the time to build up the necessary experience and expertise. And we are trying to keep our experts in their positions for quite a while to really build both the network, the impact, and the knowledge that is needed. So in that sense, I don't always embrace change, rotation, all of that all the time. I like also some stability and time to get into the depth.
Makes sense. But that's really great to know. So there's lots of stability on the company side, and now you have a long-term vision. But if you reflect your journey, like as an individual, like would you make any changes? Should you have started a company early?
No, I think I think I needed the experience I had. I needed to have a little saving so that I could at least live 18 months without any salaries, etc. That that I did when I started the company. You have to be able to take some risk, pay some other people a little bit to join you, etc. So the answer is no. I don't really regret a lot
It
of
was
what I've
all
done.
part of the journey, like all the learnings and everything, like the timing and everything. It was all about the learnings.
Yeah, but I think you need a vision, but also we don't need, then you need to look at the short term and be flexible, basically. You need to be also able to adapt to whatever the market is telling you and do some other things, even if it's not according to your original plan.
That makes perfect sense. But that also brings us to the rapid fire round. So I'm going to ask you some question. Let's see how well you can handle those questions.
Okay.
Are you ready, Jarand?
Yeah.
Okay, let's start with the energy question. What's more volatile, oil prices or your inbox?
Actually, I just looked at my inbox now. I think I had 27,000 unopened mails. So that is at least a very steady flow of emails I never have time to open. Sorry for that. Oil prices has been perfectly managed by OPEC for the last 4 years, in a way, very steady, which is a benefit for the global economy. But now it's maybe a downward pressure. So it's been not that volatile like we have seen before. So let me then say that it's equally volatile. Yeah.
Like your inbox. Okay. One word that defines the future of energy.
Hybrid.
Hybrid. Yeah, no, I fully agree. We already talked about it. So there will be a mix of energy, definitely. One habit that keeps you sharp.
It's my sport, which is intellectual sport where you are using both your body and your brain. And most people also in Scandinavia haven't heard about it, but it's called orienteering. So we are running in the forest, finding some specific flags with an electronic device on, and you have to do that as fast as possible. And you have to take all the decisions yourself on where to go. So you have to be very sharp and focused because if you miss thinking on the right thing for like 30 seconds, suddenly you are out, you don't know where you are and you're losing time. And so this is a habit I have. I tend to do a few races every year, and that is a habit that keep me sharp.
Then that's amazing. I will like to know more about that sport. Yeah, and I never
Yeah.
heard of it, but it sounds really fun. No, definitely. Most underrated energy market right now.
I think maybe still solar, because solar has the biggest potential. So even if people have high thoughts about it, still maybe not high enough.
There's still a long way to go.
It's still a huge potential, yes.
And what about geography? Like we talk about continents.
Well, China is of course growing the fastest in new energy. And partly compensating for some of the slowdown in the West in general. If you talk about new energies, so yes, that is surprising on the upside in terms of development of new energy resources, and especially new green energy resources, is still China, actually.
What is most stressful in global energy crisis or forgetting your laptop charger?
At the moment, it's maybe the latter, because I always bring like 3 or 4 batteries actually with my charger. But of course, that will be used on my first long intercontinental flights. I know, but then actually I found out you can just buy one in any shop. So I've actually solved that issue, the combination of batteries and the opportunity to buy whatever you are forgetting. So then I'm actually saying no, that the global energy market is maybe more stressful than.
If that data were a person, what would it be like?
Data or a person?
No, data. If data is a person, like if how it would be? Yeah.
If data is a person,
Yes.
what would that person be like in terms of?
Let me give you a hint. Would it
Yeah.
be nerdy genius or dramatic diva?
Yeah. No, I would say it's the nerdy, artistic kind of person that is the data, and then the interpretation of it and making that into a story. Then you need a diva to make that story that is making management to move the needle. So you need
It's a
both.
combination of both. So it's a combination of both. So nerdy genius as well as dramatic diva.
Yeah.
That's interesting. No, thank you so much, Jarand. That was really good. And how you tackle all these problems from your inbox to charger to the data. That was really good. Thank you so much. And let's moving on here. We are almost at the end of our discussion today. Like we have discussed many things, like about your journey, about the market and everything. But if you have to summarize everything as one key takeaway for someone who wants to make it big in this industry as a business or as an individual, what would be that one key takeaway?
I think just to take the current situation in the energy market, which is maybe oversupply of energy, a downward pressure of energy prices, and also downward pressure on valuations. That is a threat for your cash flow and for your current assets, but it's also an opportunity to buy into assets that are attractive long term. So think about your long term vision and try to have some savings to take the opportunity to be opportunistic. So think long term and be opportunistic to take the advantage of the crisis is maybe what
Makes
I would
sense. So you
say.
can have opportunity in the crisis, so that's
Exactly.
always the case, and you have to act when that opportunity comes.
Yeah.
So with that, we are almost at the end of our discussion. But before we sign off, Jarand, do you want to say anything to our listeners?
No, I'm just impressed that you are taking this initiative, and I think we need that kind of more personal conversations also in the industry. So thank you for that, and good luck everybody to embrace the very broad and fast changing and going to be electrifying market. And of course, ABB is a very key player in the new energy future, because it's electricity will play a very important role there, and that's the core of the ABB has been since the start of the companies.
I fully agree. Thank you so much, Jarand. A lot to learn from you, from your journey and the knowledge on the energy industry. But we have to stop here. So with that, I will sign off for today. Keep listening. Oil and Gas Breaking by Show. See you next week. Have a great day. Thank you.
Thank you so much.